The immature sperms start traveling from the epididymis through the different tubes until getting the ejaculatory tube, and then being expulsed by the urethra.
The scrotum helps to regulate the temperature of the testes by holding them closer or farther away from the body. The penis is the male organ of sexual intercourse. It has long shaft and enlarged tip called the glans, which is covered at birth by a layer of foreskin. It is also the main sexual organ. A highly convoluted duct behind the testes, along which sperm passes to the vas deferens. The anus is where the gastrointestinal tract ends and exits the body. The tube through which urine leaves the body. Thick-walled tube in the male reproductive system that transports sperm cells from the epididymis. The hypothalamus is a part of the brain and functions as an integration center that helps maintain the homeostasis by regulating hunger, sleep, thirst, body temperature, and water balance. The pituitary gland is an endocrine gland that can be divided into the posterior and anterior pituitary glands.
Starting from the bottom, there is the labia minora and labia majora that are both like the outside of the vagina. Then up from those ones, there is the urethra and the clitoris. Then inside the body, there is the symphysis pubis, the urinary bladder, the fundus of uterus, and almost at the top, there is the ovary and the uterine tube or fallopian tubes. Then at the back, there is the rectum that we all know it, the cervix, and the corpus body of uterus. The gonads in the female consist of the ovaries, located on one each side of the upper pelvis, whose functions are to produce the oocytes or eggs in a process called oogenesis, and the female sex hormones estrogen and progesterone, which are the hormones that control the uterine cycle. One egg is usually produced per month in one of the ovaries and then released into the oviduct in a process called ovulation. Now, following the topic, there is the fertilization. Fertilization of the egg with the sperm takes place in the oviduct. The resulting zygote continues to divide as it travels towards the uterus, becoming an embryo. The embryo reaches the uterus in about 1 week. The external female genitals. The external female genitals are collectively known as the vulva. It includes the labia majora, the labia minora, the glans clitoris, and the cleft with the openings of the urethra and vagina. The labia majora are two large hair-covered skin folds that extend from the mons pubis, which is a fatty prominence over the pubic bones covered with pubic hair. The labia minora are two small folds lying just inside the labia majora, and they extend from the opening of the vagina to circle the glans clitoris, forming the foreskin. The glans clitoris contains erectile tissue that becomes filled with blood during sexual stimulation. The cleft between the labia minora contains the openings of urethra and the vagina. The vagina may be partially closed by a tissue called the himan, which is ruptured by sexual intercourse or some other physical means. The rest of the organs in the female reproductive apparatus are the female genital tract that consist of oviduct, the uterus, and the vagina. The oviducts or fallopian tubes extend from the uterus to the ovaries, but they are not attached to the ovaries. Rather, they end like in finger-like projections called fimbriae that, together with the ciliated lining of the oviducts, guides the egg into the oviduct and sweeps it towards the uterus. Fertilization of the egg with the sperm takes place in the oviduct. The resulting zygote continues to divide as it struggles towards the uterus, becoming an embryo. The embryo reaches the uterus in 1 week. Uterus is a hollow muscular organ about the size and shape of an inverted pear. It is lined with a vascular tissue called the endometrium. and this is where the embryo is embedded when it reaches the uterus, in a process called implantation. The vagina is a long muscular tube that lies at 45-degree angle to the lower back. It receives the penis during sexual intercourse and serves as both the birth canal and the exit for the monthly menstrual flow. The hormonal changes of the female reproductive apparatus is controlled by the ovarian and the uterine cycles. The ovarian cycle includes a series of events that occur during and after the maturation of an oocyte. The uterine cycle involves a series of changes in the endometrium of the uterus to prepare it for the arrival of fertilized egg that will develop there until birth. The hormones secreted from the ovaries during the ovarian cycle control the events of the uterine cycle. The ovarian and uterine cycle and the hormonal changes that regulate them are known as the female reproductive cycle. GnRH, gonadotropin-releasing hormone, controls the cycles by stimulating FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone, from the anterior pituitary gland. The duration of the female reproductive cycle typically ranges from 24 to 34 days. For the sake of discussion, we will describe a 28-day cycle. Longitudinal section of ovary shows that is made up of an outer cortex surrounding an inner medulla. The outer cortex contains thousands of immature follicles, which are made up of an immature oocyte surrounded by a layer of epithelial cells. Now I'm gonna introduce to the topics more deep into these cycles. First is the ovarian cycle that is divided into three parts: the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase. The uterine cycle. The female hormones estrogen and progesterone produced by the ovaries during the ovarian cycle affect the endometrium, causing the uterus to undergo the cyclic changes known as the uterine cycle. The uterine cycle can be divided into three parts: menstruation, the proliferative phase, and the secretory phase.